My husband worked late 3 Tuesdays in a row. Date night was dead, but my trust was alive. Then his phone lit up. Last night was incredible. Wear that cologne I like. From his boss, a man, and my straight for 20 years Trevor had been treating our marriage like a cover story. I wasn't snooping, I was charging a phone, and in 10 seconds, my entire life turned into a Reddit thread. Look, I need you to understand something before you judge me. I wasn't that wife who checks his phone every night. I wasn't tracking locations, counting minutes, zooming in on receipts like the FBI. I was boring. I trusted my husband. I trusted the man I'd been with since we were 23, married for 15 years, built a whole adult life with, mortgage, renovations, family dinners, stupid shared passwords, and those little routines that make you think you're safe. And our routine was Tuesday date night, one sacred evening where we acted like we still liked each other, even when life got heavy. That was our thing, until it wasn't, because Trevor started canceling. First week, critical project. Second week, Grant needs me. Third week, this promotion is basically in my hands. He said it like he was sacrificing for us, like I should be proud, like I was supposed to clap while he slowly erased me from his calendar. And I did. I nodded. I smiled. I warmed leftovers and told myself, this is what being supportive looks like. Because that's what we're trained to do, right? Be the good partner. Be understanding. Don't be dramatic. Don't be insecure. Don't be crazy. Except here's the thing nobody tells you. You can be calm, loyal, patient, and still be getting played like a cheap guitar. If you're interested in this topic, type "interested" in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. It only takes a second, but it helps the channel a lot. So it's a Tuesday, of course it is. Trevor's in the shower and his phone is on the kitchen counter. Mine is dying. I reach over, not to snoop, not to spy, not to do some Netflix thriller montage. I'm literally just moving his phone out of the way to plug mine in. And then his screen lights up with a message preview. You know, the kind that pops up like a little grenade right in your face. From Grant, his boss. And it says, "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you." I just froze, like my brain didn't have the file folder for that sentence. My brain went straight into denial math. Maybe incredible means the presentation went well. Maybe Grant is just weird. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe it's a typo. Maybe I'm hallucinating. Except another message pops in before I can breathe. "My place tonight. I'll make it worth your while. Wear that cologne I like." That's when the denial dies, because nobody says "wear that cologne I like" about PowerPoint. I sat down on the kitchen floor, literally sat, like my legs quit on me, and while I'm sitting there holding his phone like it's radioactive, I can hear him showering. I can hear him singing like a man with a clean conscience, singing like he didn't just smash our marriage into pieces and scatter it across my kitchen tiles. And that's what burned. Not just the messages, the audacity of peace, the casualness, the normalcy, like I'm the only one in the house whose life is on fire. My hands were shaking when I unlocked his phone. The password was "our anniversary." Let that sink in. Our anniversary, the date we celebrated forever, the date he used to hide everything. I opened the thread and, I'm gonna say this carefully because I know the comment section gets stupid, this story is not about a man being with a man. This is about betrayal. This is about lying. This is about using a whole spouse as camouflage while you live a separate life. Trevor could have been sleeping with a circus, I don't care. The point is he was building a double life and I was the unpaid stage prop. The thread went back months of messages, plans, hotel rooms, "can't wait to see you," photos I didn't ask for, didn't consent to see, and can't unsee, videos, the kind of stuff that makes your brain do that thing where it tries to shut off to protect you, but your eyes keep working anyway. And sprinkled through it all were little knives of disrespect, not just sex, not just secrecy, but the way they talked about me like I was an obstacle, a boring object in the corner. A her, like I'm not the woman who built a home with him, packed his lunches, defended him to my sister when she said he'd changed, like I'm not a person. 2 weeks ago, Grant had written, "You're so much better than her. When are you leaving?" And my husband replied, "Soon, I promise. Just need to figure out the right time." That's not a mistake. That's a plan. That's premeditated. And while I'm reading this, I'm also realizing something else that's quietly horrifying. The affair isn't the only lie. The lie is the lifestyle. The lie is the performance. The lie is me believing I knew the man I slept next to for 15 years. I'm still on the floor when Trevor walks out of the bathroom in a towel, dripping water, smiling like some carefree idiot. "Hey babe, have you seen my—" And he stops dead when he sees me holding his phone. His face changes so fast it's almost funny, like the mask fell and the real face was underneath. "Nora, don't." Oh, now he's worried about boundaries. Now he wants privacy. You ever notice cheaters only care about rules when you start winning? My voice came out steady, which surprised me. Just don't. Because what's there to say? There's no explanation for months of lying. There's no context that makes "wear that cologne I like" normal. He snatched the phone, but he didn't need to. It was already carved into my memory. "How long?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just stood there, water dripping onto the hardwood floor we picked out together during our renovation. Do you know how sick that is? You can redesign a house with someone and still not know who you're living with. "How long, Trevor?" I asked again. His voice was small. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year. And my brain immediately started replaying the last 6 months like a crime documentary. The canceled Tuesdays, the work trips, the times he kissed me hello like everything was fine, the moments I believed him, the nights I defended him. And then, because my brain apparently hates me, I asked the question I didn't want answered. Is he the first? His face went pale, and that was the answer. That silence screamed, because you don't look like that over one mistake. That's the face of a man realizing his entire vault is about to be opened. "Oh my God," I said, not even dramatic, just stunned. "How many?" He whispered, "I don't know," and I swear to you that line hit harder than anything else. I don't know. Like these weren't people, like this wasn't a decade of betrayal, like it was so casual he never even counted. Imagine being someone's whole wife and they can't even count how many times they stepped out on you. I stood up somehow. My legs worked even though my reality didn't. "We've been together 20 years, I said. "Were you ever actually straight? Or was I just incredibly stupid? And before anyone turns this into a morality debate about sexuality, listen, the issue is not what he is. The issue is what he did. He built a life with me under false pretenses and used my trust like a doormat. He tried the classic cheater script. It's not like that. What is it like then? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my husband treated our marriage like a brand deal, a public image, something to keep his life stable while he got his excitement elsewhere. He sat on the couch, head in hands, still in the towel, and then he said the line cheaters love because it sounds sweet if you're naive. "I love you." I actually laughed, not because it was funny, because it was insulting, the way a scammer says trust me after taking your money. "You love me?" I said. "You told him you were going to leave me." He said, "I was lying. I was just saying what he wanted to hear. And if you've ever been betrayed, you know exactly why that's worse, because it means he didn't even respect his lies. He lied to everyone. He lied for convenience. He lied like breathing. Then he stepped toward me to touch me, like physical contact could erase digital proof. I backed up so fast I nearly tripped. "Don't touch me," I said. "Don't you dare." And he went into bargaining mode. Therapy, quitting the job, ending it, fixing it. Couples do it all the time. That line, that manipulative little line. Translation, please don't make me face consequences. Please don't make this real. Please don't take away the comfortable life I get from you while I do whatever I want. I grabbed my keys and purse. He asked, "Where are you going?" And the answer came out cold. "Anywhere that's not here," because the home wasn't a home anymore. It was a crime scene. I drove to my best friend Cecilia's place in silence. No music, no crying, just the click of my turn signal and the sound of my heart beating like it wanted out. Cecilia opened the door, looked at my face, and pulled me in without a single question at first. When I finally told her, she listened like a real friend does. Not to fix it, not to minimize it, but to witness it. And then she said, "I'm gonna kill him." I said, "Get in line." That was the first time I smiled, and it wasn't because anything was okay, it was because someone was finally angry on my behalf. That night, my phone lit up with missed calls. Trevor called and called and called, like persistence could undo betrayal. I didn't listen to the voicemails because I already heard the truth. It was in the messages. It was in the months. It was in the fact that my anniversary date was his password while he was destroying the anniversary itself. And the next morning, I did the first sane thing I'd done since Tuesday. I called a lawyer. Because at some point, you stop asking why and you start asking what now. If you've ever found out the truth by accident, not because you were snooping, but because the universe practically shoved it in your face, type accidental truth in the comments. And tell me this, did I cross the line unlocking his phone once I saw that first message? Or was that self-defense? I want your honest take. The next morning, I woke up at Cecilia's place with that hollow feeling, like my body was present, but my soul was still stuck on my kitchen floor holding Trevor's phone. You know the feeling, like your brain is buffering, like you're watching your own life from the outside and waiting for someone to yell, "Cut," because this can't be real. My phone showed 53 missed calls from Trevor. 53. That's not love. That's panic. That's a man realizing the safety net might finally have teeth. I didn't listen to a single voicemail because I already knew the script. I could practically hear it without pressing play. It didn't mean anything. I was confused. I was stressed. I love you. Please don't do this. Cheaters always talk like the betrayal was weather, like it just happened to them. Instead, I called a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Winters, and my sister described her with the kind of admiration usually reserved for sharks and war generals. She's expensive, my sister said, but she's ruthless. Perfect. I didn't need comforting. I needed strategy. Patricia didn't waste time with sympathy. She asked questions like she was building a case file in her head. Prenup? No. Married how long? 15 years. Good. She said it like she'd just found a weak spot in armor. Then she hit me with the sentence that didn't feel romantic but felt like oxygen. In this state, you're entitled to half. Half the house, half the savings, half the retirement accounts. Potentially more if we could show infidelity and deception in a way that mattered legally. She explained it like this wasn't about revenge, it was about reality. You don't rebuild your life with good intentions, you rebuild it with resources. And here's where I'm going to say something that will probably split the comments into two angry camps. I didn't want his money. I wanted out. I wanted my dignity back. But Patricia looked me dead in the face and said, "Take the money anyway. You're going to need it. Don't make this easy for him." That line hit, because when you've been lied to for years, part of you still wants to be fair, still wants to be kind, still wants to be the bigger person. And that's exactly what people like Trevor count on. So I hired her. That same evening, Trevor showed up at Cecilia's apartment like a sad movie scene, standing outside in the rain, shoulders slumped, face miserable, like he wanted to look punished, like he wanted me to feel sorry for him. Cecilia looked at me and said, "Should I call the police?" I said, "No, I'll talk to him." Not because he deserved it, because I needed closure on my terms. I went downstairs but didn't invite him in. We stood in the lobby, him soaking wet like a drowned rat, me dry and furious with my arms crossed. "I filed for divorce," I said before he could even open his mouth. His face crumpled instantly, like he'd been holding on to hope that I'd do what he always did. Forgive him. Smooth it over. Protect the image. Pretend it didn't happen. "Nora, please." "No," I cut him off. "You'll be served tomorrow, Patricia Winters, and my lawyer says you need to move out of the house. 2 weeks. He blinked. "That's my house, too." "It is, and we'll sell it and split it. I'm not living there either. I can't even walk into that bedroom without thinking about how many times he came home from someone else and crawled into bed beside me like you were a normal human." Then he did something that still makes my blood boil. He tried to make it about me. Not by blaming me directly. No, he wasn't that stupid. He used the softer manipulation, the "I'm the victim" manipulation. "It was never about you. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm broken." Oh, okay, great. So I just got destroyed, but the real tragedy is that Trevor is broken. This is what they do. They take the knife out of your back, cry about how hard it was for them to hold it, and then ask you to comfort them. "You're right," I said calmly. "You are broken, and I spent 20 years trying to love someone who was lying to me every single day. I'm done fixing you." I turned to leave, and that's when he said it, the line that made me stop walking. "I got the promotion." I froze, slow motion, like my body didn't understand the words. I turned around. "Is that supposed to make me feel better?" He shook his head. "No, I thought you should know. Grant gave it to me this morning, Vice President of Operations." Let that sink in. the timeline, the betrayal, the reward. So while I was finding out my entire marriage was a cover story, this man was getting a title bump and probably a salary bump for the same behavior that shattered my life. This is where the rage comes in, because I know some people listening right now are thinking, but maybe it was consensual, maybe it was complicated. No, stop. The complicated part is sexuality. The simple part is this. He weaponized intimacy for power and used me as a shield so he could look like a stable family man while he played games at work. And he stood there telling me he got the promotion like it was a trophy. I stared at him for a long moment and said, "Congratulations, I hope it was worth it." And for the first time, I saw something on his face that looked like realization. Not regret, not empathy, just the dawning awareness that he'd traded his life for a job title and still didn't feel satisfied. I went back upstairs and Cecilia was waiting with that "tell me everything" face. "He got the promotion," I said. Cecilia's eyes widened. "Oh, I'm going to commit a felony." I laughed, but it was that bitter laugh again, the laugh you do when your brain is trying to keep you from collapsing. The next weeks became a blur of paperwork and decisions nobody prepares you for. Divorce isn't just heartbreak, it's logistics. It's turning your life into a spreadsheet. Who gets the wedding china? Who gets the photo albums? Who gets the coffee maker from your honeymoon? Who gets the dog if you have one? Who gets the couch you pried on? And you know what shocked me? How fast forever turns into split it down the middle, like your love is a garage sale. I let him have most of the sentimental stuff, not because I'm generous, because I didn't want memories contaminated by him. I didn't want to look at our wedding photos and wonder who he was texting while we cut the cake. Then my mother called. 17 times. When I finally answered, she didn't say hello, she said, "Your father and I are very disappointed." Disappointed in me. Not in the man who cheated, not in the man who lied, in me, the woman who refused to stay quiet and swallow it. "Marriage is a commitment," she said. "You don't just give up when things get hard." And this is where I need you, the viewer, to weigh in, because this kind of family hypocrisy is exactly why so many people stay in bad marriages. You're not just fighting the cheater, you're fighting the culture that protects them. "Mom," I said, "he's been sleeping with men for years, probably our entire marriage." And she said, "Everyone has problems. Everyone has problems." I almost dropped the phone, because imagine comparing "we argue about chores" to "your husband has a second life and used you as camouflage while he played games." "No," I cut her off, "this isn't leaving the toilet seat up. He lied about who he is and what he's doing, and you want me to stay? I want you to honor your vows. He didn't honor his." I hung up.
My father called 10 minutes later, quieter, softer. "Your mother means well," he said. "Does she?" I said, "or is she just scared of what people will say?" He sighed. "You should do what's right for you. I'm sorry this happened." And I cried for the first time, not because Trevor deserved tears, because my dad acknowledging my pain felt like permission to breathe. The divorce moved quickly. Patricia was a machine, and when Trevor's lawyer tried to play games, Patricia didn't argue. She crushed. 15-year marriage, she said. No prenup, clear infidelity, significant deception. We're not doing cute negotiations here. I didn't feel powerful. I felt exhausted, like I was dragging my soul through mud while everyone else argued over dollar amounts. 4 months later, the divorce was finalized. I got half of everything, the house, the savings, the pension split, and a settlement that made Patricia smile like she'd won a championship. "You did good," she said, shaking my hand. "I don't feel good," I told her. "You will," she said, like she'd seen this movie 1,000 times. I didn't believe her. I thought the story ended there. Cheater gets caught, wife leaves, divorce happens, fade to black. But life doesn't do clean endings. 2 weeks after the divorce was final, my phone rang from an unknown number. "Is this Nora?" a woman asked. "Yes," I said cautiously. "Who is this?" "My name is Jillian," she said. "You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about Trevor." My stomach dropped straight through the floor. "What about him?" I asked. "Can we meet in person?" she said. "There's something you need to see." And I'm telling you, in that moment I realized something terrifying. I didn't just marry a liar, I married a system. A man who didn't just cheat once, a man who built a whole network of deception so deep it was still unfolding even after the divorce papers were signed. I agreed to meet her, and when I walked into that coffee shop and saw the folder she brought, I realized my 6 months wasn't the truth. It was the version Trevor admitted to because it sounded survivable. When Jillian slid that folder across the cafe table, she didn't dramatize it. No sigh, no warning speech, just paper hitting wood with a soft thud that somehow sounded louder than everything else in the room. Before you open that, she said, I need you to know something. I didn't know he was married. That line matters because this wasn't a side piece situation. This wasn't two villains bonding over bad choices. This was another person who'd been fed the same carefully curated lies I had swallowed for years. She told me she dated Trevor 8 real dates, real conversations, holidays, promises. He told her he was single, told her he wanted a future, told her he was different. Sound familiar? I stared at her like she'd just spoken another language. You dated Trevor? I thought I did, she said, until I found out about you and Grant and, yes, the others. The others. Those words landed like a punch. I opened the folder, and that's when the story stopped being about an affair and turned into something else entirely. This wasn't chaos, this was organization. Printed screenshots, dating profiles, message threads from multiple apps, time-stamped photos, calendars, color-coded timelines. Jillian wasn't emotional when she put this together. She was methodical, like a forensic accountant for betrayal. I flipped through page after page, and each one felt like another layer of reality peeling off. Trevor wasn't just cheating, he was actively managing multiple relationships. Men, women, different names, different lies, different versions of himself depending on who he was talking to. At least 15 people in the last 5 years alone. 15. That's not a phase, that's a lifestyle. How did you find all this? I asked, my voice barely working. I'm a data analyst, she said, and when I get obsessed, I get thorough. She explained how she dug through every app, every platform, how she created a fake profile to see if he was still active. He was, still swiping, still lying, probably doing it while I was sitting there trying not to throw up in a coffee shop. Why are you showing me this? I finally asked. Because you deserve the truth, she said, all of it, and because you're not the only one he lied to. She paused, then added, there's a woman named Bryn. She thinks she's his girlfriend right now. That's when something inside me hardened. This wasn't just about what he did to me anymore. This was about the pattern, the damage trail, the people he kept mowing down while he told himself it didn't mean anything. Does she know about me? I asked. No, not yet. And then Jillian said the sentence that split my life into before and after. I think we should tell everyone, not just Bryn, everyone. His job, his friends, his family, every person he's lied to. I think he should face consequences, real ones. Let's be honest for a second. This is where the internet section always explodes. Some of you are already typing, that's revenge. Some of you are thinking he deserves it. Some of you are conflicted because you've been taught that silence equals dignity. So let me tell you exactly what went through my head. I thought about the 20 years I gave him. I thought about being used as a cover while he lived his real life elsewhere. I thought about the way he looked me in the eye and said, I love you, while texting his boss about cologne. And I realized something. Keeping his secrets was never noble. It was just unpaid labor. No, I said, that's not a problem at all. We didn't rush it, that's important. This wasn't an emotional outburst. This was deliberate. 3 weeks of verifying everything, confirming dates, cross-checking stories, reaching out to other people quietly, carefully. 6 more people came forward. Only one knew he was married. The rest thought they were in exclusive relationships. One woman, Felicity, had been saving money to move in with him. He told me his wife was impossible, she said, that he was just waiting for the right time to leave. Same script, new audience. We compiled everything into one document, not a rant, not an accusation, a record. Photos, screenshots, testimonies, timelines. At the end, Jillian looked at me and said, last chance, once this goes out, there's no taking it back. I thought about Trevor crying in the lobby. I thought about my mother telling me to stay. I thought about how many people he'd keep hurting if no one stopped him. Send it, I said. She pressed the button. The email went to his entire company directory, his family, his friends. Subject line, the real Trevor Patterson. My phone started ringing immediately. I blocked his number without listening. His mother called next, screaming about humiliation, about cruelty, about how we'd ruined his life. He ruined his own life, I said calmly. I just made sure people knew about it. His company called him into a meeting. They fired him. Grant, too. Ethics violation. Promotions don't look so shiny when the receipts come out. That night, Cecilia came over with wine and Chinese food. The internet's losing its mind, she said. Someone posted the document to Reddit. Of course they did. It went viral. Thousands of comments. Strangers dissecting a life I used to live. And here's the part that surprised me. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt tired. Because revenge doesn't heal you. It just closes the loop. The world moved on fast. It always does. But Trevor's life didn't. He lost his job, his reputation, most of his family. He ended up in a tiny apartment across town. And 2 months later, Jillian told me he was trying to rebrand, starting a podcast about authenticity. You cannot make this up. Then the universe did what universe does best. Trevor filed for bankruptcy. $200,000 in debt. Hotels, gifts, dinners, the lifestyle he claimed we couldn't afford while telling me to budget. That's when I realized something important. I didn't destroy him. I just stopped protecting him. And there's a difference. This is where I need you. Did we cross the line by exposing him publicly, or was silence just another form of enabling? Drop your judgment in the comments, no fence-sitting. And if you've ever uncovered receipts that changed how you saw someone forever, tell us what that moment felt like.
3 weeks after the internet finished chewing Trevor up and spitting him out, my phone rang. I almost didn't answer. I'd unblocked his number a few days earlier, not because I missed him, but because I'd reached that stage of healing where blocking someone feels like effort, like they still matter enough to manage. I didn't want to manage Trevor anymore. I wanted him to be irrelevant. So when his name popped up on my screen, I stared at it for a full 5 seconds before picking up. "Nora," he said immediately, his voice wrecked. "Please don't hang up." I didn't say anything. I just waited. That silence, that's power, and I didn't even know I had it until that moment. "I need help," he said. "I know I don't deserve to ask, but I'm drowning. The bankruptcy, the debt collectors, I can't do this alone." Let's pause right there, because I know exactly what some of you are thinking. After everything he did, he had the nerve to call her? Yes, he did, because entitlement doesn't disappear when the mask falls off, it just panics. "You're calling me for help?" I said slowly. "You're the only person who will still talk to me," he replied. And there it was, the quiet truth. Not love, not remorse, access. Have you ever noticed how people who treat you like you're disposable suddenly remember your value the moment everyone else walks away? I took a breath, not to calm myself, to keep from laughing. "Have you considered," I said, "that maybe this is exactly what accountability feels like?" Silence. "I know I hurt you," he said. "I know I destroyed everything, but we were together for 20 years. That has to count for something." That sentence right there, that's emotional extortion. The implication is, because I invested time, you owe me forgiveness, as if years spent lying are some kind of loyalty points you can cash in later. "It did count," I said. "It counted for everything, to me." He let out a shaky breath, like he thought this was going somewhere good. "But apparently," I continued, "it meant nothing to you, so now it means nothing to me either." "Nora," he cut me off. "No, I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to save you. I'm not going to soften this for you." "You're really going to just leave me like this?" he asked, his voice cracking. "You left me first," I said, "every day, for years. This is just the part where you finally feel it." And then I hung up. Not dramatically, not shaking, calm. Cecilia texted me 5 minutes later like she had some kind of sixth sense. "Proud of you." That was it. No lecture, no questions, just validation. And here's what surprised me. After that call, something shifted. Not overnight, not magically, but the weight I'd been carrying started to feel lighter, like I'd been holding my breath for years and didn't realize it until I finally exhaled. Life didn't suddenly become amazing, it became quieter. I started therapy. A woman named Dr. Chen, she specialized in betrayal trauma, which I didn't even know was a thing until I was sitting in her office crying about a towel on my living room floor. "You're not crazy," she told me in our second session. "You were gaslit for years. Your nervous system is still trying to recalibrate." That word, gaslit, hit like a puzzle piece snapping into place. Every time I'd questioned Trevor, every time he'd said I was overthinking, every time I felt something was wrong but convinced myself I was being dramatic, that wasn't intuition failing. That was manipulation working. Some people cheat because they're unhappy. Others cheat because they like power. Trevor liked power. Therapy didn't make me forget him, it made me understand him, and more importantly, it made me stop blaming myself for not seeing what he worked so hard to hide. I went back to school, graphic design, something I'd always wanted to finish but put on hold because Trevor's career needed priority. Turns out I was good at it, like really good. I got a job at a small design firm, new coworkers, new routines, a life that didn't orbit around someone else's lies. And then, one afternoon, about a year after the divorce, I ran into Grant. Yes, that Grant. Coffee shop, of course. He looked terrible, thinner, exhausted, like a man who hadn't slept since karma clocked in. "Nora," he said when he saw me, I'm sorry for everything." I studied him for a moment. He looked sincere, broken but sincere. "Why?" I asked. "Why pursue someone you knew was married?" "Because he told me he was leaving you, said the marriage was basically over, that you were just roommates." I believed him. That stung, not because I believed him, because it confirmed the pattern. He told all of us the same story, different names, same lies. "I lost everything," Grant said, "my job, my reputation. I can't even get a reference." "Yeah, welcome to the club." And I walked away. Not angry, not triumphant, just done. Then came the moment I never expected. 2 years after the divorce, Jillian called me. "You need to see this," she said. "What now?" Trevor got married. My stomach dropped. To a woman named Callista. Different last name, fresh start, clean slate. No past, according to him. "She has no idea," Jillian said. "None." And for the first time since all of this started, I said something that shocked even me. Do nothing. Jillian paused. "Are you sure?" Yes, I said. I'm done letting Trevor take up space in my life. This is her journey now. That wasn't forgiveness, that was freedom. A few months later, Callista emailed me anyway. She'd found the old Reddit post, discovered the lies, filed for divorce. She wrote, "If you hadn't exposed him, I might have wasted 20 years too. I only lost 2. Thank you for being brave." And that's when it clicked. Truth doesn't need chasing, it catches up on its own. I didn't need to burn him again, the fire was self-sustaining. Be honest in the comments. If your ex called you begging for help after destroying your life, would you have helped, or would you have done exactly what I did? And if you've ever felt guilty for finally choosing yourself, type "choosing me" below. For a long time after Trevor, I didn't think love was in the cards for me anymore. Not in a dramatic, I'll never love again way, more like emotionally retired, like I'd clocked out of that part of life and wasn't interested in overtime. I wasn't bitter, I wasn't angry, I was just done. Done auditioning, done explaining, done proving I was enough for someone who treated honesty like an optional feature. Therapy helped. A lot. Dr. Chen used to say something that stuck with me. You don't heal betrayal by rushing back into attachment. You heal it by learning to feel safe with yourself first. And that's what I did. I built routines that didn't revolve around anyone else's moods. I made decisions without asking for permission. I started liking my own company again. And that's usually when life pulls its little plot twist. I met Julian at an art gallery opening, not a dating app, not a setup, just real life. I was there for work. He was there because he actually liked art, which immediately told me 2 things. 1, he was weird in a good way, and 2, he wasn't trying to impress anyone. We started talking about a sculpture neither of us understood. One of those pretentious pieces that looks like someone dropped a ladder in a bathtub and called it commentary. We made fun of it. Quietly, together. 4 hours passed without me noticing. When he asked for my number, I hesitated, not because I didn't like him, because my body remembered what came after liking someone last time. "I should tell you," I said, "I come with a lot of baggage." He smiled, not dismissive, not patronizing, just honest. "We're in our 40s, he said. "We all do. The question is whether we're honest about it." That was new. Our first date was coffee. Safe, public, no expectations. I watched myself the entire time like a scientist observing a lab rat. Was I scanning for red flags? Yes. Was I bracing for manipulation? Absolutely. Did he do anything remotely sketchy? No, and that almost freaked me out more. By the 5th date, I told him everything. The marriage, the lies, the boss, the receipts, the public exposure, all of it. He had not a bad Bible. I expected him to recoil, or get awkward, or ask invasive questions, or worse, romanticize it. Instead, he listened, quietly, fully. When I finished, he reached across the table and took my hand. "Thank you for trusting me with that," he said. "That must have been hard to relive." That was it. No advice, no fixing, no minimizing. I cried, right there in the restaurant. Ugly cried. I apologized, embarrassed. "Do what?" he asked. "Be human," he said. "You survived a traumatic thing. You're allowed to feel things about it." That was the moment I realized something huge. I had confused intensity with intimacy before, chaos with passion, secrecy with excitement. What I felt with Julian wasn't fireworks, it was calm, and calm felt terrifying until it felt safe. 6 months into dating Julian, I got an email I never expected to receive. Subject line, "You don't know me, but you deserve to know this." I almost deleted it, old reflex, protect the peace, but something told me to open it. "My name is Callista," it read. "I recently found out my husband, Trevor, was married before, to you. He told me you died in a car accident." I had to stop reading for a second. She went on. She'd discovered the viral post, the lies, the cheating. She was filing for divorce. She wrote, "If you hadn't exposed him, I might have wasted 20 years too. I only lost 2. Thank you for being brave." I read that email 3 times. Then I replied. I didn't warn her, I didn't rage, I didn't dump trauma on her. I said, "I'm sorry you're going through this. I know how disorienting it is. If you need someone who understands, I'm here." We met for coffee a week later. She looked like I had looked years ago, hollowed out, exhausted, still trying to make sense of how someone could lie so convincingly. "I should have seen the signs," she said. "Neither did I told her, for 20 years. She asked the question everyone asks. Does it get easier? Yes, I said honestly, but not all at once, and not by pretending it didn't matter. She cried. I listened. I gave her Patricia's number, told her about therapy, told her the truth no one wants to hear. Some days will suck, and then they won't. When I left that coffee shop, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Closure. Not because Trevor apologized, not because karma worked fast, but because the truth had finally finished traveling. That night, Julian asked how I was feeling. Grateful, I said, that I didn't stay, that I didn't protect his lies. He pulled me close, his loss, and for the first time, I believed it.
Years passed. Life grew around the scar instead of circling it. Julian and I got married quietly. Small ceremony, real vows. The kind that don't promise perfection, just honesty. Then, years later, a letter showed up. Trevor's handwriting. I didn't open it right away. When I finally did, it was an apology, therapy, diagnoses, accountability language. He said he understood what he'd done, said he didn't expect forgiveness, said he hoped I was happy. I showed it to Dr. Chen. What do you want to do with it? She asked. I thought about it. Then I threw it away. Not out of anger, out of indifference, because closure doesn't come from the person who broke you, it comes from the life you build after, and I had built a good one. If you've ever been afraid that loving again meant lowering your guard instead of raising your standards, type calm over chaos in the comments. And tell me, would you have replied to Callista or stayed silent to protect your peace? 4 years after the divorce, something strange happened. I stopped thinking about Trevor. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way, not with fireworks or closure music playing in the background. It just happened. One day I realized weeks had gone by without his name crossing my mind. No anger, no curiosity, no checking in through mutuals, nothing. And that's when I finally understood something most people get wrong about healing. Healing isn't about forgiveness, it's about irrelevance. Trevor stopped being the villain in my story the moment he stopped being the center of it. Julian and I had been married for a year by then, a real marriage, not a performance, not a look-good-on-paper partnership. A marriage where honesty wasn't an emergency response, it was the default setting. We argued sometimes, of course we did, but there were no locked phones, no vague explanations, no disappearing acts disguised as ambition. When Julian worked late, he told me why. When he was stressed, he didn't outsource intimacy to someone else. Revolutionary, I know. One night after a dinner party, we were lying in bed laughing about something stupid when he said, "You know what I admire most about you?" I braced myself, old reflex. "You left," he said. "You didn't stay and disappear." That landed harder than any love confession ever had, because he was right. Leaving wasn't dramatic. Staying would have been. A few months later, the universe tried one last time to test me. I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, Trevor's handwriting. I almost threw it away unopened, and honestly, that would have been valid. But curiosity got the better of me, so I opened it. It was different, not manipulative, not self-pitying, not performative. He wrote about therapy, about being diagnosed with personality disorders, about finally understanding that his need for validation, secrecy, and control wasn't love or sexuality or confusion, it was entitlement. He didn't ask for forgiveness, he didn't ask for a response. He just said he hoped I was happy. And here's the part that surprised me most. I believed him, not because I trusted him again, but because it didn't matter whether he was sincere or not. That chapter was closed. I brought the letter to therapy. "What does it make you feel?" she asked. I thought about it. "Nothing," I said, and then I smiled. "And that feels like progress." She nodded. "That's not coldness, that's freedom." I threw the letter away when I got home. Not angrily, not ceremoniously, just done. Years passed. Life filled in the space betrayal used to occupy. Work, friends, love, normal, boring happiness that doesn't photograph well but feels incredible to live inside. Then one day, out of nowhere, I got an email from Callista. She wrote to tell me she was okay, better than okay. Therapy, new job, new apartment, new boundaries. She said something that stuck with me. "I used to think you ruined his life. Now I realize you saved mine." I cried, not because it hurt, because it validated something I'd carried quietly for years. Telling the truth isn't cruelty, silence is. And here's the part I really want you to hear, especially if you're watching this while questioning your own reality. This story was never about Trevor being with men. It was never about cheating for a promotion. It was never about Reddit virality. It was about power. Power to define reality, power to control narratives, power to lie while expecting loyalty in return. The moment I took that power back, everything changed. Not because I destroyed him, but because I stopped shrinking myself to make his life easier. If you're sitting there right now wondering whether you're overreacting, whether you should wait it out, whether exposing the truth makes you the villain, ask yourself one thing. Who benefits from your silence? Because it's never you. I didn't rebuild my life by being perfect. I rebuilt it by being honest, even when it was ugly, even when it cost me relationships, even when people judged me for going too far. And you know what? I'd do it again.
every single time. If this story hit close to home, comment, "I chose myself." If you've ever been gaslit into doubting your own reality, share this video with someone who needs permission to trust their gut. And if you stayed to the end, subscribe, because this channel is where we say the quiet parts out loud. Your life is not a cover story, and you don't owe anyone your silence.